All right. So thank you all for being here. We're so excited to have you. I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed presenters this afternoon, who are wonderful collaborators from our CHO program committee. Take it away, my friends.
Hey everyone, and hope that you are well wherever you are. We are from the programming committee, so we're each going to introduce ourselves and then we will get started. My name is Teresa McKyer, or TK. I'm the Associate Director for Residential Experience here at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brendan Miller. I work at the University of Kentucky. I'm Assistant Director for Staff Training Development, and along with TK, I am one of the co-chairs for our Presenter Development and Moderator Subcommittee.
And we also wanted to introduce Maureen from our subcommittee. So Maureen, feel free to introduce yourself as well.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maureen Ori. I work at Auburn University, and I am also on the programming committee this year.
Awesome. So today, during this hour, we're going to do a bunch of different things, and we're going to talk about really like articulating what creates a strong program proposal. So we'll kind of go through that process as far as kind of what fields and things like that. We want those opportunities to share, so any updates and changes from our previous proposal processes, and really give you tips. So no matter whether you have presented multiple times before or are completely new, we love new presenters. Trust me, we absolutely adore them. And we want to get you equipped so that you can write the best quality proposal possible because we know you have great stuff you want to share. We will also talk in review on how to submit and current resources that we have both on our CHO website as well as people that can help you in that process. And for those that are joining us live here on this Zoom, we will have an opportunity to break into some breakout rooms to help you either brainstorm ideas or if you already have an idea kind of already solidified, opportunity to maybe even get some proposal feedback. How do you take a good idea into a quality conference proposal?
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about program proposals and preparing that. So the first step is always determining your topic and considering the descriptions from the program topic area. We will cover the program topic areas because there are a list of different topics, but think about what experiences you have knowledge about and the information that you're going to be providing. Make sure that it's transferable just beyond your institution. We'd love to hear about the things you're doing in your institution, but the goal is for it to be replicated at different institutions throughout CHO. So how do you make sure that you cater the topic you're discussing to make sure that it is transferable in those ways? In terms of format, there are two different types of formats for CEO presentations. The first is a roundtable session. So it's most likely a discussion that a facilitator or moderator will start the conversation and allow those that are participants to kind of discuss. So whether it be a presentation format that includes, discussion items, questions, and notes, that's similar to what a roundtable would look like in comparison to a program session that is the standard lecture style type of program. So when you're selecting your format, think about the way you want your participants to engage. Will the group learn best if it's a dialogue and conversation? And more than likely, if so, then you probably want to consider a roundtable. But if you've done maybe extensive research and you want to showcase a design topic area or thing of that nature, you're probably gonna want it to be a programming type of session. The next portion is collaboration. So how do you collaborate with others in order to get the topic? I think the presentation disappeared with Brendan. So give us 1 second while we pull it back up.
Sorry about that, I think. Sorry, Zoom crashed on me.
You're good, no worries. So collaboration, who can you collaborate or what perspectives can you bring into the conversation? We love seeing variety of different institutions throughout CHO that collaborate different states or different experiences. So who can you bring into the conversation? We've also had a lot of really great vendors that you work with on campus that you'd be able to present with. So if you are willing and able to bring into a different person or highlight a different voice into the conversation about a topic, we encourage collaboration. So if you're a new professional who is not sure where to start, or maybe you want to present with somebody who's more seasoned, or you can be a returning presenter that is willing to help a new professional, that's a great opportunity to collaborate and to discuss a topic that would make both of you feel great and work well.
All right, so we're going to talk about what to include in your program proposal. And a little later in this presentation, I believe we got screenshots that can actually show you the form. But basically, I'm going to go through almost every field of the form so things to think about. So first of all is your program title. This is your opportunity to invite the reader to your program. So we all know, we all like catchy titles. And an effective title encourages that person, whoever's looking at that proposal, to learn more about it, to be like, oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me more. I will say, like, a creative title might be fun and does work sometimes, but also the best titles really have a combination of something that draws you in, but has enough information so you understand what the content is. You use a very vague title, might not attract someone, and it might not be as catching that, and as they have to kind of dive and try to figure out what is this program about. Next is your program target audience. So who is your message geared towards? Graduate students, advancing new professionals, mid-level professionals, senior housing officers. CHO has professionals at such a variety of levels, and so we need to also have programs for a variety of levels. And so hone in on the experience and skills that you need from that particular group needs, and think about how you can convey the information that you have to those specific audiences. And as you are developing your proposal, keep that in mind. So if I'm going to make something and you think this is going to be great for like an entry level resident director, how do you convey that throughout and recognize if that's my audience, I got to make sure I'm catering to that audience. Next is program description. So that provides the reader with an accurate picture of what the presentation will cover. And probably the most important thing, the program description is what's included on the conference schedule. So they see the title of your session, they're interested, then they click into guidebook and they're going to see exactly what you write here in this program description. So that's always important because if you write it well, it's going to be concise. It needs to be organized, specific, identify that purpose and intent of the program. Someone should be able to read your program description and know exactly what they should expect and make the decision, do I want to go to this session or not? Effective descriptions begin with that most important information or thought. So, put the most important thing because sometimes people are going to read it and, and judge the whole thing based off one sentence. Defining unfamiliar abbreviations and acronyms are helpful. So we know in residence life and housing in general, like we use a lot of acronyms. And if you bombard it, people are like, okay, I don't get what that means. Maybe it's not applicable to me. It might be totally applicable for you. So the more general you can be can really help that. Making sure your description summarizes that content. If you're going to do activities, maybe talk about what those activities would be, distinguishes what type of session. So as TK was talking about, the differences between like a round table or also maybe there's going to be group discussion, but it's still lecture based, kind of a program interest session. Making sure maybe you talk about that a little bit. Talk about the scope, the sequence, the level of that program content, and also explaining how this session might be new, different, what the audience might take from this presentation, and how can they take that knowledge they're going to gain from that session and take it back to that institution. So then that kind of ties into learning outcomes. So this is really important as we understand what are the goals of your presentation. What are those specific skills or knowledge that participants will gain from their experience? What tangible evidence from their time spent with you are they going to get out of it? So making sure that you can be very clear. By the end of this session, our participants should be able to do blank. That makes it easier for you to also check your understanding competency achieved by those participants. So you should be able to know, Did they actually get what they said and what you said that they would get? It also gives them a little guidance so that they know what to expect as they kind of go through this session. Right. So then continuing on, the outline. This is probably going to be the bulk of your program proposal. So this is the in-depth look. So the description is like your abstract. Everything else is, the titles, that first catching thing. The outline is like, okay, the meat of it. What is this session? So it is an in-depth look about the content. It should articulate the specifics of what's covered in your presentation. And you should really break it down minute by minute. So if I'm starting a session, I'm going to talk about maybe spend 5 minutes doing some introductions and saying a baseline, maybe talking about 10 minutes about the context of whatever the subject is. Maybe another 10 minutes I'm going to spend doing an activity where participants are going to do, whatever in that. And then, filling that out for 15 minutes. Because as someone that's been in the slating room, we need to know these are 50-minute sessions. How are you going to spend these 50 minutes? Because no one wants to attend a session that, ends 30 minutes early. So as a program reviewer, I need to know what's the time going to be used. If it sounds very vague and generic, then I'm going to be like, okay, and it's not broken down, it's harder for me to really judge and assess that. If you're going to include an activity, you don't need to necessarily show us every single detail about it, but a good summary of like, yeah, they're going to be doing this, they're working breakouts where they're going to talk about these certain subjects or something like that, or they're going to design this. And then if you're also going to have, if you have some important background information, if your work is based on research, including the methods that you're using, the findings, those recommendations, the stuff you've already done to kind of help develop this, whatever you have, throw that in here. As a program reviewer, we rely on these well-written descriptions to enhance like the quality of the content and the goals. So as we kind of go through it, it helps a reviewer to understand what's going on to determine, is this worth slating at the annual conference? This next one on the form, it's a yes or no question. Are you want to be considered for Best of CHO? So Best of CHO is an award given at CHO that's gathered from the feedback in your conference, in your session evaluation. So if you've been to a CHO before, you might have heard a moderator really ask you to complete those evaluations. That's what the evaluations, not just that, but also to give us valuable feedback. But it's also one of the most prestigious recognitions from a programming presentation standpoint that CHO gives. So we want to recognize our top quality presenters. And then we always ask about different needs. So if you have a specific technology you need, we do have a variety of different rooms from year to year, and some are set up in ways that maybe help more for like a roundtable conversation versus a, more of a lecture base. So knowing that is very helpful. Are there any accessibility accommodations you need, or is that the program committee needs to know so that they can make sure you're successful as a presenter? We always make sure we ask that. And then, I have a lot of slides here, but talk about CHO-U. So CHO-U happens the first day of CHO. It is prior to the official kickoff. You can consider this like a pre-conference session. So usually every year it focuses on a specific topic area that helps offer those attendees like advanced knowledge in that specific area. Past CHO topics have included DEI in housing. I've also talked about like mid-level management, things like that. And I believe the current proposal has this year's theme as well. So if you think yours might fit that theme and you're going to be there for CHO-U and are interested in presenting, there's an ability to select, yes, I'm interested in that potentially. Sometimes you might be asked to present just at CHO-U. Sometimes you're asked to present at both. It just kind of depends on kind of the needs of the given year and the kind of format for CHO-U. We always want folks to be able to get feedback. We do have a pretty transparent process. So if you're interested in getting the feedback from the reviewers about your proposal specifically, you can select that and that will get sent to you. So that is really, and it will send that to you also if you're selected. So whether it's like, okay, what do I need to work on in the future if I want to submit a program proposal? But also if I'm presenting and then the committee has some different thoughts about it would be better if you got, maybe focus on this area. Sometimes we can give some feedback in that area to help you in that developing from proposal selection to the conference. And then finally, we don't just present at the annual conference. We're presenting right now. And so CHO all year is part of that. So if there's future opportunities for you to share your content beyond the annual conference and it's a topic that is of interest, that is definitely something that gets shared.
Yeah, so let's give Brendan a break. So let's talk a little bit about program topic areas. So the categories that are below are some of the categories that we would love to see and offer sessions in all of the areas. I don't know if we've ever gotten to all of our areas on our slate, but we are always interested and would love for folks to consider. So the first is administrative services and operations. As we kind of talk about CHO, CHO is not just comprised of residence life folks. So we would love sessions that focus on assignments, occupancy, marketing, HR, and business admin to really help those folks also develop their programming styles, their skills that they're using on the job. And some example topic areas could be finance, occupancy management, move-in planning, desk operations. Those proposal categories are considered, this is one of the top areas that we want to see and would love for people to submit to because we don't see a lot of presentations here. Assessments and scholarly work. So if you are a super scholar or someone that is doing current research right now in higher education and student affairs and in housing, we would love to hear what those things are. So we've been seeing presentations on dissertations, research trends, assessment strategies or data that they've pulled. Again, making sure that all of that work is applicable to a variety of different universities. We want to hear about it and we would love to see you present on it. For crisis and risk management, again, those are the on-call procedures, those planning, crisis management things, supporting mental health, whether it be for students or for staff. These are all areas of crisis management and programs that foster participants how to utilize the information on their campus to be able to manage some of those emergency issues is always something that we're looking to see and do. DEI or diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is also a huge part of the work that we want to see and do. And topics can include some initiatives that you all are doing, how you support students' social identities, affinity groups that you might have for students or for staff, to increase the knowledge for our participants surrounding social justice, multicultural issues, and really making sure that they have a sense of belonging and are able to assess and help all kinds of students. Moving into foundations of CHO, specifically the foundations of the profession is something that ACUI has been doing. So if you had an opportunity to kind of read some of those articles and that research, we would love to take your take on what has been being discussed and to talk about the state of our profession and the state of our practice. So how do you include those programming topics, whether you're exploring personal philosophies, trends, your ethics, or just CHO involvement in general? That's where those types of topics kind of fall under. Facilities management for our facilities teams include construction, building new buildings, renovations of older buildings, facilities management in general, any master planning or sustainability initiatives all kind of fall under this area and this project. Legal issues and campus policies explore working with our partners in dining services, conferences, or P3s. This is a great opportunity for you to include that, as well as any legal issues that you might see on your campus. So if you are familiar with the policy or have background knowledge in something that might affect your state or your area, that would be really, really awesome to share, and you can provide context on that as well. Student behavior would include trends for students of concern or best practices that you're using regarding some of the behaviors that you might be seeing with our college students or students on your campus. Some example topics are conduct, students of concern, how you support mental health or well-being. All of those things are kind of how you take something that we are theorizing or in research to kind of actually using for student behavior. And then lastly, for student learning and partnerships, programs that include example topics of curriculum, programming models, academic initiatives, things of that nature to really make sure that we talk kind of about learning and how we can help our students and staff grow. Student staff recruitment and selection. So any selection policies or things that you're doing on your campus to recruit student staff roles or different types of roles are always things that we love to see. So whether it be student staff training, professional development, career readiness, all of those things, or even futures of what the RA role is turning into or looks like is always awesome and appreciated. Supervision, any sort of theories that you might be familiar with or frameworks that you utilize to be a better or great supervisor. And that's a supervisor in all different levels, not just supervising student staff, but mid-levels and upper level management as well. Talent management would include professional and grad staff recruitment or training, retention for staff, and we all know that's a huge topic right now, and how to continue to retain our staff, because research has come out and said that in 10 years, there might not be very many people working at our colleges and universities. So how can you help to provide some feedback, advice, or support for that area? And how can we, as a institution and a division, really help to make sure that that is taken care of? And then technology, software programs that you're utilizing to do day-to-day operations, or how you make your housing processes more efficient from day to day, or any new technology programs that you're utilizing or platforms that you've partnered with to do some of the great work that you're doing at your institution.
All right. Well, now we're going to go through really our top 10 tips for how to write a really awesome program proposal. I'm going to go through all these on a different slide, but if you're joining us right now and want to take a screenshot of this might be pretty helpful because I really like how this graphic is set up. But so these are the first 5 tips. And then these are our second 6 through 10 tips. Let me give you a second. But I'm going to go through them. So we're going to start by step 1, thinking outside the box. So what are topics that you're curious about? You know, or do you have a process or a project that you have done that you think another institution or someone just interested in that area might be interested in? And or what's something, maybe you have a subject that you're just passionate about and you just want to dive deeper into that knowledge base a little bit and then share that knowledge with other people. So I would say the best proposals are ones that really do think beyond the typical session. So everyone, like, I have seen so many folks on how to do self-care and work-life balance, like in a residence life role. But how did you do it differently? What's a unique strategy you've done in that area? Or has your institution implemented an innovative idea that you think another institution might also benefit from, maybe replicating in some way, shape, or form? Or just in general, is there a topic you're just passionate about? You think other C-Hill members, maybe it's like higher ed adjacent, and it might be like maybe you took a business class and you learned something in business class. You're like, I can apply this to residence life and housing, and other members of CHO might be able to benefit from that. So the more creatively you think, the more your proposal will stand out from other people. Second tip, partner up. Who could present this with you? Do you have a peer? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a colleague at a different institution that can help develop this program proposal? Is there potentially a corporate partner that you might want to team up with? A lot of our corporate partners have been wonderful co-presenters. And so those are always ones that if you're already working with them really close, reach out. Hey, I'm interested in presenting on this. Would you be interested in potentially joining me on that? And honestly, a lot of them say yes. So especially if you're a first-time presenter, finding a seasoned professional that can guide you through that process might help up as well. Whether they're going to take the lead of like co-presenting, or you're going to do it really jointly, or maybe you're going to do it and they're just kind of going to be that extra like safety net for you. That's totally okay. There's all the different levels of presenting. But really, and I say this to seasoned presenters, find people that are, new and help them, mentor them up, because then they'll be great presenters. They'll be contributing to our profession and be better professionals because of that. And then step three, starting with the end in mind. So at the end of the day, what do you want your folks to get out of attending your session? What do you want them to walk away with? If you can answer that right away, then build backwards. Establish your learning outcomes, establish your goals, and then figure out, this is my why. Now, how am I going to do it? Tip four, know your audience. So in the proposal, we ask you to identify that target audience because you know there's going to be so many different people from a variety of different levels, variety of different institutions as well. So who are you looking to target? How would this specific audience benefit from your presentation? And how can the information you present impact this audience's campus or their own personal journey, depending on the subject? And does your topic speak to that population? Does it speak to a specific campus environment? Does it speak to a specific corporate partner service? Or maybe a specific functional area? So the more you can kind of figure out like who's going to want to attend this, and why should they, what are they going to get out of it? Next is making sure it's relevant and catchy. So how relevant is this topic to other institutions? If you're doing something, like I know there's things at the University of Kentucky that no other school does. And I bet every person could say that somewhere. Maybe that might be great, and that might be something that might be interested if they're, but you also have to recognize, okay, if they're completely doing a completely different thing, maybe that's not worth presenting on. But maybe you're doing something super special and you think other institutions might really benefit from the unique way you're doing it. That could be very potentially good. Is it related to current issues? The field is constantly moving and shaking, and there's different hot topics every year. And maybe there is something that we need to have a nuanced take on. What makes this topic relevant to other institutions' professional experiences? So how is that applicable? Always thinking about, showcasing what you're doing, but what can they learn from you? I mentioned before, catchy titles are good. Relevant hooks to connect with your audience are very good. Testing out, and so we suggest test out your proposal topics. Test out your titles on colleagues and see what they think. They might even have a good idea to help you enhance. So when I submit proposals, I usually write down like in a Word document like 3 or 4 different possible titles. And then usually at some point I like wake up and I'll write a fourth one and then look back. I'm like, actually that second one, that's it, and sometimes it's the day before I do a presentation to be like, okay, that's the hook. What sticks out? What's going to draw them in? Make sure your learning outcomes actually match your outcome. So sometimes you write the learning outcomes, then you start writing your outline and you realize that outline is now a whole different thing. And you might need to go back and redo your learning outcomes. Or realize, okay, I actually got to go backwards and redo this outline because it's not matching if there's mismatch, we can definitely see that in the review process. So make sure, do you cover every outcome that's published there in your outline? Do you allot the amount of time to cover each outcome through your presentation? Are those outcomes targeted to a specific needs of your audience? So already identifying that target audience, making sure, okay, this outcome is going to align with that. And then do your outcomes encourage the audience's participation? Does that enhance their experience? So how are you going to do that? No guessing games. Be transparent. Like the biggest mistake I think I see is proposals that are too vague. They are just kind of written very generically. They might say we're going to do an activity, but doesn't talk about what that activity is. The more a reviewer has to like guess is going to make it a lot harder to really get an idea of what you're presenting about. So be transparent. Let us know what your attendees should expect when they attend that presentation. Share resources, include relevant information. You can attach other files to your presentation to help folks know, okay, if you have a handout, it's already going to be created. include that in your proposal so that they can kind of see, okay, you already created this, and this is something that they're going to see when attending that. They'll know you actually put the work in already to start developing what this session is going to be like, and include tangible examples. So you don't have to include everything. It doesn't have to be 100% fleshed out presentation, but having the foundations and including as much detail as possible is only going to benefit your proposal in the end. And then finally, well, not finally, but on this slide, is just be engaging and applicable. So you only have 50 minutes. That's not a lot of time. So make a plan for how you're going to use that time. Make sure you're using that time as efficiently as possible, and make sure you're properly using the space you're going to get. So, and no, does the time and space fit that topic area, what you hope to accomplish? Sometimes I've seen proposals where honestly the person submitting is probably trying to do too much, and you need to scale back because we're not going to solve every problem in the housing profession in 50 minutes. But what we can do is focus on one specific topic in a nuanced way of how we address that problem, and have a good discussion, good activities that are going to help folks leave with something on that. So think about different learning out styles, different experiences, as ways to connect with your audience. So when we talk about different activities, we talk about, opportunities for people to contribute and share their ideas, making sure there's visuals, making sure, are you going to show video in this, all the different ways that fit those different learning styles, helps diversify your program, makes it more interesting to other people. Are you using any interactive platforms or activities? So, are you one that's going to use like a poll everywhere thing or a Menti, or one of those other technologies that might help increase engagement, opportunities to collect feedback and questions throughout the presentation? And what does the information mean to your audience? So, and how can that information best be utilized, not just at your type of institution, but different types of institutions as well? So if I'm presenting something at the University of Kentucky, a SEC institution, yes, other stuff might be very relevant to other SEC institutions, but are they going to be relevant to, Transylvania University, which is right down the road from here, which is a small school? Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on how you're presenting it and what the specific topic is at hand. So always knowing your audience, but also thinking about beyond, like, how does what I'm presenting about fit not just for me, but other institutions as well. All right, and just a couple more tips, making sure, if it's research based, what resources did you use? So maybe you've read a great book that you're basing a lot of your, ideas around. Make sure that's properly cited, that I'm using this book, because also that's a resource for them to use. Making sure that you do include citations. And if you already have this already fleshed out, include those citations and resources in your proposal so we know what you're basing your presentation on, and we know you're not just kind of making it up. You're actually, it's grounded in theory, it's grounded in practice, it's grounded in this other experience that you have had. So just some common missteps. Biggest ones, not enough details. It's vague, it's unclear about the topic. It doesn't really talk about how much time you utilize. It doesn't talk about really what audiences are going to walk away from. On the flip side, sometimes there's too much in the outline. And it's a giant wall of text. There's not much, it's not organized. It doesn't focus, and it's going to cover, like, okay, you just posted your entire dissertation in the outline. Okay, you have 50 minutes. How are you going to use that? And so maybe it needs to be narrowed down a little bit. Not being specific on how those topics are applicable to the CHO region. So we do this really amazing, unique thing here, and you don't really explain how other institutions can use that, especially if it's really, really specific to that institution. You do have to explain that because you're not just showcasing what you're doing, you're also hoping that they can take what you learn from you and back to their institutions. There are so many types of presentations around that same topic area. I've mentioned like, self-care and well-being, what makes yours stand out? What makes yours applicable not just to you as a professional, but everyone else as well. And then just having that singular point of view. So that's why we always encourage folks to pair up with people. Maybe present with someone from a different institution because that's going to make that better because you're going to get two different types of experiences. So maybe you work with someone at a different institution that's now at a different institution, and now you can be like, well, I did it this way, you did it this way. Combine forces. Now you got a much more diverse perspective.
All right, so now we're going to go into the submission tutorial. So if you are a returning presenter, it looks a little bit different than it has in the past because we are using a Qualtrics link this year as opposed to the CMT software. So if you head to our CHO 2026 conference page on the CHO website or you Google CHO 2026, it'll pop up. You're going to scroll down through that page until you get to the program proposal submission section, and you'll see a big click here to submit a program proposal. That's where you will click to get that information. And then you will also find that information if you go back through the notes on this presentation, you'll be able to see that as well. So after you click here, you'll be brought to the submission portal where you'll be able to submit all of your information. So you're going to complete your presenter information first. So it asks a little bit about you and your co-presenters. So for every single person that you're adding as a co-presenter, please make sure to include all of the information. It will ask you their experience level, their state, all of those things. All of those things make a difference in our CHO submissions because if we see a presentation that has multiple states on it or multiple different institutions, we want an opportunity to get multiple points of view for the entire region. So I would always encourage you to collaborate and find someone else to work with, and then also always including them in your submission when you submit your proposal. The second section we'll get to, go back one more slide, Brendan. The second side talks about the program itself. So what is the session title, the topic areas, and all of the things that Brendan covered earlier, the description, the outline. That section will kind of go into all of that. So you'll scroll through those questions and make sure you select the topic areas and all of the important things surrounding that. Then at the end, you'll see a question that says, I acknowledge that I have thoroughly reviewed the program proposal details and I'm prepared to submit the program for consideration. Once you click that option and then you hit the forward button, it will automatically submit. So please make sure before you get to this point that you are double checking your work and double checking everything that you've submitted in all the other boxes, because once you click that forward arrow, you will not be able to go back and make any changes. So make sure that you double check for errors before you get to this point. Then once you've submitted and you click that arrow, it will bring you to this screen that is thanking you for your submission going through and your response being recorded. That is how you know that it has been submitted and finalized and we have received your proposal. So some quick resources that we have. So again, CHO is always going to be the perfect place where you can find all the information. Consider maybe some CHO reports or things that we've discussed or any articles that you've seen. There's always tips on how to create a program proposal. We have an article about that, as well as an example of a program proposal that has been submitted to CHO. So that's a really great way for you to see how much detail we're asking when we talk about the description or the outline to really help make sure that your program proposal is successful. And then we have an explanation, as I kind of covered, for the program topic areas. So if you want to go in depth and trying to understand what we're looking for, that's a really good way to figure out all of the information there. So that is kind of the conclusion of the formal session. Now we're going to transition. We're going to stop the recording first.